Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at a deck list featured on another channel. This is something I'm going to start doing because obviously I only have so many of my own personal decks and obviously decks that I'm working on. And to be honest, it will just be a nice way to broaden the content that you guys get to watch. So today's deck list comes from GinJTCG's channel, and he's been working on this deck list for as long as I've been subbed to his channel. And that is Heatran with Metang. I'll obviously cover these cards a bit more in the deck list before we go any further, but I would just like to say that I've not net decked his list. I've made one change, which I know it's not much, but you can probably see it if you notice on this initial part over here. But before I begin, in the description below there's going to be a link to his video, the deck list itself, and of course timestamps with the deck list itself, games that we are going to be playing, and of course the outro and what I think of the deck, because I've never really played this deck, and to be honest it's been on my radar for a little while and it's something I've wanted to try. But anyway, let's go to that deck list and let's take a look at that deck. And welcome to the deck list. This is one of the shortest deck lists I've ever had to do, and well, that's what happens when you play 20 basic Metal Energy, but I digress. This is definitely a deck that is very interesting, and like I said, it's not meta. It's sort of like a single prize Gholdengo, but you need 3 energy to at least start attacking, whereas Gholdengo you only need 1. But obviously having a single prize board state with everything bar the Metangs and the Beldum immune from Iron Hands is actually a pretty decent offer. There is obviously options to like increase your type coverage, because obviously there's colorless attackers in multiple shall we say scenarios, but a lot of the time the guys that we've got up here will cover what we need to do. So before I begin, let's talk about the Metal Maker, because obviously it's the first time this card's going to appear on the channel. We get to take a look at the top 4 cards of our deck and attach any number of basic Metal Energy cards we find there and put on our Pokemon in any way I like. But any other card there gets shuffled to the bottom of the deck. Now that's not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're trying to dig for Metal Energy anyway, so putting cards that aren't metal on the bottom is always handy. But of course, with Heatran, we do need to discard 50 times, so similar to Gholdengo, but obviously we need it on the Pokemon, not in the hand, which surprisingly makes it pretty interesting to run a deck like this. So Steel Burst makes us do 50 damage, and we have to discard every single energy that is on that card. So, well, on this card, I should say. So we don't want to be we don't want to be overkilling, is what I'm trying to say. So we don't want to be putting all our eggs in one basket and not having energy across the board anyway. If we've hit the requirement that we need, so let's say for example we're knocking out a Roaring Moon, we only need 5. So I'd put 5 on the Heatran, but I'd still use Metal Maker, so that we can charge up something like Zamazenta, which is a new card to the list, and I've never actually used this card, so I'm going to go over it in a minute. And then of course we can also charge up, if we're up against Terra types, Regigigas, which, if the opponent's active Pokemon is a Terra Pokemon, this does 330 damage. This one-shots Dragapult, Charizard, and a whole bunch of others. Unless, of course, Hero's Cape enters the party, which, you know, that's just how it is, unfortunately. So let's quickly go over Zamazenta, because Zamazenta is a new card into this list, and it's actually a pretty good card. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, obviously we have to use the attack first. Even if this Pokemon is knocked out, put damage counters on the attacking Pokemon equal to the damage done to this Pokemon. So for Strong Bash for 2 Metal Energy and a Colorless, it's going to be 3 Metal Energy, but you get my point, does 70 damage. Now, that of course breaks things like Pikachu, so if they're attacking into this with Pikachu, they kill themselves basically, which is very useful for us as we're a 1 prize deck. Then of course we have the usual Arven, Iono, Boss. And of course, there is no Metagross in here. I swapped that for a counter catcher immediately when I saw this list. 4 Pokégear, 3 Energy Recycler. I'm glad this card's back in the format. I loved this card in some meme decks back in the day. 3 Night Stretcher for recovery, 2 Ultra Ball, a Buddy-Buddy Poffin so we can get out some Beldums if we need to, because obviously we do play Precious Trolley anyway. The counter catcher, as I aforementioned. Then we have Precious Trolley as our A spec to obviously get down Heatrans, Beldums, and Zamazenta and Gigas. 2 copies of TM Evo so we can at least evolve our guys. And then 20 basic Metal Energy. Very interesting choice of 20, but of course you need to with this sort of deck. Obviously we don't really play a large amount of hand disrupt. Like we do play 3 Ionos, but obviously Ionos can bite us in the foot as well. So we don't play a huge amount of draw power, so that's something to consider. And obviously there's no Serendipity, there's no Cornerstone, there's no nothing like that. We are just pure aggression with Heatran, using Zamazenta and Gigas where possible. And heck, in a pinch, I will use Beam for 60, so, you know, you got to think about these things. But anyway, let's get into the games and let's see how this deck does. Welcome to the first game. I've not played Pikachu's Live for a couple of days now, so let's see how buggy it is still. And he's got a Ceruledge coin, which could mean Ceruledge itself. And that is a Terra type, so unless it's the single prizes, in which case why are you playing the single prizes? Ceruledge EX I do have built, and it will be featured on the channel at some point, so looking forward to that. Obviously when we get around to it. My build is pretty much bare bones, it's really simple. And we're going first. That's not... I don't know if that's good for this deck or not. I would imagine no, because obviously we're playing Team Evo. So we're going to Heatran start, that's fine with me. We can at least get an energy onto the Heatran to start us off with, but obviously we have no setup for the Beldums at the minute, but we can at least attach an energy and just pass for turn. We don't need to rush here. We can even go Arven for Trolley and then Evo, so we can take our time to start off with. One thing important to note as well is if the opponent knocks out Heatran, they do take a burn. So if we're facing Joltik Box, this is basically our counter. Okay, starting off with an Iono immediately. I'm going to Metang, get an Arven, and a Beldum, as well as an Energy Recycler and another Energy. That's pretty good. Now, unfortunately, we cannot donk, which is unfortunate, but I will live with that. So we'll go for a Beldum and go for an Arven. There's Trolley and there's Evo. Like I say, we can't attack, so we will just set up our board. We'll get two Beldums down. I don't know what we're facing, so I'm just going to grab Gigas just to be sure. I'm going to put an energy on this Heatran in case this one gets attacked. TM Evo and Evo the two Beldums. Nice. I didn't even check my Metangs to be honest, but we had one in hand anyway, so there was a good chance there was still two in deck. So now we can start swinging. What we could even do is we can Pokégear for a boss on something, which is pretty useful. There's an Arven of his own. So let's see what he's playing. Arceus Sleeves don't give me a hint. Rescue Board and a Poffin doesn't really. We do know he plays Dark Energy, but that's about all we know right now. It is Grimmsnarl, okay. Well, we're bossing that immediately if we can. They don't play basic Psychic for the Monkey Dory, so that's at least an advantage. And just straight up pass. Okay, that's good for us. So we get an Ultra Ball. Let's evolve to the third Metang. And go for a Pokégear. We whiff on the Pokégear, that's unfortunate. We could have probably thinned with the Metangs first, but I'm not too worried. So there's those. So again, I don't want to be setting up the Heatran in the active if I don't need to. I'm just going to devote some of my resources to the one on the bench. And Metal Maker again, I'm not using that Ultra Ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one on a Metang, just in case we need a pivot. And I'm going to put another one on the Heatran. And then we just Steel Burst for 115, take out the Monkey Dory. Obviously, that's why we play cards like Energy Recycler, so we can at least get, you know, something. Yeah, I probably should have thinned with the Metangs first, but obviously it's my first time properly piloting this deck, so misplays are going to happen. But I wanted to see how this card works, to be honest. And there's a Grimmsnarl, so to take out a Grimmsnarl, we need 7 on our Metang. Like, Heatran, sorry. Obviously, it's not a Terra type, so we cannot use it to take out... Well, in fact, no, we won't. We'll only need 6 because of the burn. Counter Catcher. He's going to take out a Metang. Fair enough. I respect that. But you do know that leaves you still in a very vulnerable situation. I only need 3, well 2 actually, because of a hand attachment to this Heatran. So what this opponent is actually doing is he's actually throwing a bit. And he's gone to a 0 card hand. Okay, that's fine with me. He's focusing down the Metangs, which, fair enough, I'll give him credit. That is a plan, but unfortunately it's not going to work out for him. So there's a Frisian Shroud. but that is completely fine. That does mean we still have to discard 7, though. Let's go down another Beldum that we just top decked, and let's go for a Metal Maker. Oh, that's just ridiculous. So we'll go 1, 2, because we have the hand attachment. And we can go attachment for turn, and Steel Burst. 350. We could have technically attacked for 6 and then made him not get Fez Draw, but I'll be brutally honest, with no impedimps on the bench, I don't really care. So, you know, I'm not really bothered. Let's see what his top deck does. It's probably not going to save him. Spike Mirth, that does help him. That does help him. It does mean we're going to have to use an Energy Recycler or 2, but that's completely fine with me. And another Buddy Poffin. Is he just living on a wing and a prayer at this point? Is he going to go into Badoo, trying to item lock me? Which is actually not a bad strategy at this point. Wait, hold on. No, that actually sabotages him. Because if I'm reading that ability right, he's still... Yeah, he's realised. He's going to take a burn. Okay. So that has actually just saved our bacon. I thought that was the case, but I do not read Heatran. No one at my locals plays this card, so let's get double recycling. So do I want to get another Beldum deck or another thingamabob down? I don't think so. So we'll just go for the attachment onto the Heatran. Metal Maker. Okay, so we do still have to hit the 3 requirement, unfortunately. But I'm going to put another energy on this Heatran. Is there anything worth doing that with? Well, we can Night Stretcher for another Metang. So we can do that, get that evolved. I'm not going to bother using these Metangs. I'm just going to go for the Steel Burst and take Rise. Now what this does mean is we are on a timer, because we do start to worry about Grimmsnarl damage, but with a 0 card hand, I'll be brutally honest, unless he top decks his second candy, I'm not worried at this point. We'll be down to 1 prize. He can grab his Morgrim, he can do all that stuff, but if that's a rare candy, I'm gonna laugh. Oh my god. This man's got the absolute nuts. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. He top decks rare candy, like, and then gets to grab his Grimmsnarl. That is insane. It's not end of the world scenario though, because remember, we still have this Heatran with 2 energy on it, and we can get the Night Stretcher attach. Or we can get the Night Stretcher and grab it. Now what this does mean also is because he's attacking the Heatran, we only need 6, because he's going to take a burn. So it is Incandescent Body. So we do lose a Metang, but that's okay. We should be fine. So he takes 2 prizes. So he takes his burn, then damage from the Frostlass. His burn still stays, so that's something. And there's Freezing Shroud. So all we need now is we need 4 energy, but we have one of them off of the Night Stretcher. So let's do that. So let's grab one of the energy. Now, do I want to thin a card? Let's see what we can thin first. Because I want to try and thin out with the Pokégears first. Okay, that's fine. So let's go for a Metal Maker, so we need 3. That's a whiff, that's unfortunate. And come on, Metal Maker number 2. And we only get 1. That's unfortunate. Okay, in that case, let's go for the Iono. There's another couple of Metal Energy just to rub salt in the wound. So let's just go for the 200. He could claw this back. He could actually claw this back, which is scary. But remember, we have this energy on the Metang. So we could actually get away with this. So he heals the burn, but he still takes 1 damage counter from the Frostlass. So we could actually win with Beam, folks. That's what I'm trying to say. Secret box. This is getting a bit squeaky bum time now, I must admit. This is getting very uncomfortable now. Super Rod, Defiance Band, Boss, and what was the other card? I think it was a Artisan. Okay. But he's out of candy. No Grimmsnarl this plays 3. So he's out of candies. So he has to kill this Heatran. He can grab his Morgrim all he likes, I don't really care. He could retreat into it and attack with it. But, you know, I don't see the value in that. We could have probably, instead of grabbing Gigas, if we'd have known it was like Dark Energies and stuff, we could have probably grabbed the, Oh, I know what he's doing. He's taking out our engine. No, he's misplayed. That's a misplay, mate. That is a misplay. There's no way you've just done that. You had the knockout on both my Metangs. Let's promote the Metang. There is no way this guy's potentially thrown this. Let's see. We get a boss. Okay, that's not really helpful. Let's thin a card out of Artisan first. Let's grab the Zam. So we need 2 off this Metal Maker. And that's it. We can win with Beam. I did say I could attack with Beam. And the Beam KO is coming up. Beam for 60. That's brilliant. He misplayed so badly there. He should have had me right there and then. But he was too focused on taking out the damaged Metang. I don't know. But still, that is a win. A win that shouldn't have happened. But I digress. Let's go on to game 2. And welcome back. I don't know how we won that first match, but hey, I'm not complaining. I definitely would have grabbed Zamazenta if I'd have known it was Grimmsnarl, because Grimmsnarl would then do 150 to itself, which would be pretty useful. Weaken it a little bit, and then we can obviously recycle the Zamazenta and finish it off. And then it dies for a Frostlass ping. Like, it's definitely something to think about, but obviously I didn't know what it was, and I'd already used my trolley, and we don't really want to use Ultra Ball to search for the Zam if we don't have to. So let's see. Starting a Beldum. Was we going first or second? He's going first. That's fine. That is fine with me, Chief. So what we got? Crispin, Dark Energy, Fire Energy. Iono. I'm getting a whiff of Eevee Box. Not because of the Flareon sleeves, but that smells like Eevee Box. But then again, Crispin plus Dark Energy. Like the Fire Energy makes sense, but the Dark Energy, unless they're playing Umbreon, I don't know. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out. 2 Mullies. I will take that. Van Rome. I think it is Eevee Box. Now, we do hit the Sylveon for weakness, so we can gust that if we need to. There's a Latias. Terrapagos. Yeah, this is definitely Eevee Box. There's, like, they do play Terrapagos for the Terrors. And they also play the EVEX, so yeah, I think we can say for uncertainty this is Eevee Box. I'm happy with that. It's taking a bit of time to make his decisions though. You need to fan call, mate. Yep, there we go, there's Eevee. So fan call probably for another Eevee, a Hoot and a Noctowl. Okay, maybe it's got Noctowls in hand, so we definitely want to Iono then. Let's see. Now, I know they only play like 2 stadiums, so we don't need to worry about this Beldum going down. So let's see. You got an energy for turn. There's the fire energy on that Eevee. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Of course, top decking a Metal Energy is a day that ends in Y with this deck. So let's actually do prize checking. So we have prized a Beldum. We've not prized a Heatran though. We've prized a Boss. We haven't prized Trolley, so that's good. We just prized a bunch of energy, to be very honest. That's fine with me. So let's go for... Well, then again, we want a Hand Destruct because we know the Noctowl's in there. So let's go for an energy on the Beldum and Iono. We could meme and go for the Dig Claws for 10, but if I get an Evo, I'd rather do that. We do not get the Evo, but that's okay. Fine, we'll dig claws for 10. Which technically makes it so that Fan Rotom is vulnerable to a beam. So, you know, it's not a misplay, it's technically doing something. We're lining up for a beam KO on Fan Rotom. Serrano, oh, I love this card. I've not played a card this card in my decks. Well, in any of my decks yet. It lets you search for any, well, 3 Pokemon EX, which in this case will probably be Flareon. Oh, he's grabbing the Sylveon very early. That's interesting. So there's a Sylveon. That doesn't need Fire Energy though. Yeah, why would you evolve that one into Sylveon? It should be that one that becomes Sylveon. Then that one becomes Flareon. I must admit though, these EV cards are absolutely gorgeous, but unfortunately they cost an arm and a leg. I'm really intrigued as to why he put the Sylveon like on this one, because the only thing you can do now is Magical Charm. You can't Angelite. I don't know. I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking about it. So let's see. So he's not played a support turn yet. There's Area 0, so he can expand his bench. Sparkling Crystal to the Flareon. He's got Latios for 3 retreats. There's the Mew to get an extra card or 2. Okay. I'll see where you're going with this, mate. I'll see where you're going. And there's the Flareon, so we can go for a Burning Charge for 130 times by 2. And he can get some energies on the board. Like I said, I find it really weird how he evolved this one into Sylveon. It would have been better to evolve this Flareon onto this. But, I don't know. It means you can put your energy attachment for turn elsewhere. I've not played EV Box, but that's what I would have done. So I'm not really sure why he did that, but still. Also, he may want to spread his energies out, is another thing entirely, because Terapagos in this matchup would actually go pretty hard against us. I know he's putting all his eggs in one basket on that Sylveon. Okay, that's fine with me. So let's promote the Heatran. And draw for turn. Let's go for a Pokégear. Another Arven. Okay, that's fine. We are probably going to have to sit and, you know, do stuff like this. We're going to have to Evo this turn. So let's go for a Trolley. Go for another Heatran. Let's go for Gigas, because Gigas is really good in this matchup. And then Evo, Energy, and Evo both Beldums. So we can't use Night Stretch to get back thingy anyway. Obviously, Gigas is really good in this matchup because there are mostly Terra type Pokemon here. So we've got the Sylveon, we've got the Terapagos, we've got what else do they play? They sometimes play a Leafeon. Umbreon is also a Terra, so we do have options here. And obviously we can go promote Gigas, counter catcher the Sylveon, and take that out. So we have definitely options here. And obviously the burn from Heatran here would actually do 20 damage, so we can actually take out Flareon with just 5 energy on a Heatran. But obviously I want to go Gigas into the Sylveon here to give us a line that way. I'm not really bothered about his energy acceleration because he's not really powering up much. It's only when he starts powering up the Terapagos is when I need to worry. And yeah, he's putting energy on the Terapagos, so we are actually on a timer. I may want to gust this instead. So there's the Burning Charge. Let's see. Because if he puts energy on his Terapagos, I'm Arven in for a counter catcher, and I am gusting this. The Mew. He does know that the Mew can't really do much, right? Okay, so let's go for the Gigas. And the burn sticks. Good, that's helpful. So yeah, I actually want to gust this Terapagos this turn. Let's go for the Arven, thin some cards out. Counter Catcher and Evolution. So let's see what we can get off Maker. 1, that's disappointing. Come on, I need at least 2. Ah, that's unfortunate. That is really bad. That's really bad. We can attach. Yeah, I know he's got another energy in hand. Did he commit his turn attachment? I don't think he did. Let's have a look. Because you crispened. Yeah, he's still got an energy in hand. So even if we gust this Noctowl, it does nothing. So we'll still thin the Evo out, but that is really frustrating. Yeah, we're just gonna have to pass and hope he does not go into Sylveon. And the heal of the burn, that's frustrating. Because he has to Carnelian to take out the Gigas, but his best line here actually is to just retreat the Flareon, go into the Sylveon, attach a Lightning Energy, and then... But then again, he committed his Lightning to the Terapagos, so... It's an interesting one, because like we can come back from this, but it's this Terapagos that really worries me. But if he plays a basic Grass... Yeah, this isn't looking good for us, folks, unfortunately. Whiffing that knockout was so bad. And that's not a joke. So he has to Carnelian to take it out. He's committed his turn attachment to the Terapagos, so he can't use Sylveon. And even if he uses Magical Charm, we only need... How many do we need? Because it goes up to 370. So we would need 4 energy to take out the Sylveon. And yeah, he's going into Terapagos. Because that Unified Beatdown does 180. Okay, we are really in a bad spot here. But I'm going to play it out. I ain't a wuss. I will play this out. Okay, there's a boss. That doesn't really help us. So let's go for the Metal Maker. Oh, where would he's now? Like I said, this is a rogue deck, and we're up against a pretty strong meta deck. Like, we're not at the woods yet, let's put it that way. I just realised I've put one too many energy on, because I can actually ghost this Sylveon now. But we can take out Terapagos, so I think I'm going to do that instead. How many energy we got in the bin? 5, okay. Do I take out the Sylveon? How many lightning energies have gone through? He's gone through 2 lightning. I'm not risking the Sylveon, so I'm going to counter catcher it. I was going to take out Terapagos, but I think Sylveon's a higher priority because he can just shuffle these guys back in. Area 0 under depths now is... Well, I don't know why it did that thing there because he's still got 2 Terrors in play. Thing is, though, I don't think he's read what Mew actually does because... Well, Heatran, sorry, actually does. Because he can't attach to Mew and do Steel Burst because... he has no Metal Energy. So, yeah, I'm not sure why he committed some attachment to the Mew. I would have actually been funny and done the Latias. Okay. Why are you doing that? Okay, yeah, fair enough. Take out a Metang, make it very hard for me now. But we can just Gust Mew, so we can at least get a prize if we get 3 up the Metang, which I know is praying, but in a situation like this, you kind of have to pray. So let's go for the Arven. Go for a Night... Well, in fact, do I need to Night Stretcher or do I need to put the right energy? So we've got 2 in hand. There's none on the board. How many energy we got in deck? 7. So we have a decent chance of hitting one. It's going to have to be the Night Stretcher. I need to establish more Beldums. I'm taking a big risk here. This means that all 4 energy here has to be from this Metang. We get 1. Okay, that's unfortunate. I don't think we can win from here, because even if we go down to 2, he just, you know, he can just go into Flareon and just attach an energy for turn. It doesn't matter what. Do I just give in? I'm going to play at the next turn, I think. That was an unfortunate whiff. And to be honest, he's making the right play going for the Metangs. Like, people know how to counter this deck. It's not exactly a meta deck. And everyone knows about it. But still, it's not looking good. And the boss, yep, that is pretty much us over and done with, folks. Unless we get another Night Stretcher, we are basically dead here. Although he is running low on energy. That is quite a high count of energy for an EV box list. There's a Metang. Okay, okay. We could have a chance here. We get one. That is not enough. We could boss the Flareon and just hope he doesn't have an energy, which I think we're going to do. Attach turn and just do 150. Play to our ass, folks. That's what we're doing. So obviously this is an evolution. Latias only gives basic energy, or basic Pokemon, I should say, free retreat. The only way we lose is if he plays a ridiculous amount of energy, which so far I have seen it. Or he plays a Switch, and that is game, unfortunately. GG's to my opponent. Unfortunately, we got gusted on our Metangs. PTG Live, the game's over. Don't bother with a burn. Typical PTG Live. Yeah, unfortunately, that matchup is pretty rough. Like, we do have the Sylveon to gust, but with how the Metang luck was, it wasn't exactly good for us. But I will take it. That was some fun games. I really enjoyed that. So what do I think of the deck? It's very rogue, as I said in the beginning. It definitely does have its issues, as we've seen. If you just custom Metangs, the deck can't really do a lot. But yeah, it's definitely a deck you would take to a locals. It's not something you would take to like a high-level tournament, I don't think. You probably could and do something with it. But, you know, it's one of those. Like, you can play it and just have fun with it, which is the whole point of it. Or you can play it and maybe catch some players off guard and, you know, do stuff with it. But I definitely don't think it's the best deck around. It's something that you can consider, but, you know, it's fun. I've enjoyed my time with it. Obviously, learning the misplays that I've done and everything. But, yeah. I'm going to leave it at that for today. Really hope you enjoyed seeing Heatran with Metang and obviously the new Zamazenta as well. And I'll see you all on the next one.